Hi everyone, my name is Erica Wood and I'm from the Hopkins County Extension Office and I'm back with another video. So today I'm going to talk to you about a really fun and easy house plant, and that is the pothos vine. So pothos belongs to the genus Epipremnum, and this is very much like a house plant that has been in the trade for quite a long time and is just kind of a tried and true low maintenance plant. So let's talk a little bit about how to care for this plant today. So with especially this pothos, Epipremnum aureum, these actually originate from these small islands, the Society Islands, so where they're endemic to. Otherwise, you're going to see this plant in a lot of other tropical climates, where it just kind of thrives as this, honestly, this climbing vine, especially up trees. It's actually to the point where it's considered a pretty invasive species in some of our more tropical zones. So that is something to be mindful of. Now here in Kentucky, of course, where our winters are much colder, we don't really have to worry about that. This plant would not survive outside during our winters, so we just keep it very much as a house plant. And this is a pretty actively growing house plant. So it is a typical vining plant that you can kind of treat like a hanging basket, but you could also train these to go up a moss pole, such as with other species like your monsteras and philodendrons. And actually, as it goes up a moss pole, the leaves may actually mature and get bigger because it's kind of adapting more to its natural growth pattern, and that's climbing rather than kind of like trailing. So, either way that you want to grow them is good. Interesting fact about like the golden pothos. It's called the golden pothos, of course, because it kind of has this yellow variegation to the leaves. The more light you give it, the more the variegation will come out. The less light you give it, the more it might be more of a solid green color. And so we're growing it primarily for the foliage, of course, because really, in all honesty, this plant is never going to bloom, and that's actually a fact. So we've not had a golden pothos bloom for many years because it seems there's some kind of like genetic malfunction, honestly, where this plant is like something with the hormones, like the gibberellins potentially in it, are not allowing this plant to bloom, or there's not enough of it, that sort of thing. And so really, we're never going to see this plant bloom even if it's in the perfect right conditions. So just kind of, again, like an interesting fact about that. So with pothos, let's talk about general care tips, okay? When it comes to light, you can put this plant in a wide variety of light conditions. Like the brighter light it gets, the faster it's going to grow for you. So like you can put these in like a west facing window where it gets that afternoon light, and it might grow really well for you. But then you can also keep these in as low as the north facing window. That's usually much shadier, and the plant may not grow as fast and the foliage may not get as big, but it's still going to grow fine. It's still going to survive in those lower light settings. And really, for that reason, that's why this makes a really great office plant, is it can even survive and do okay like in our kind of like artificial light conditions in our offices. So that's kind of good to know. When it comes to watering, honestly, just water when the soil feels dry to the touch. Take your pinky finger, go down in the soil 1 to 2 inches, and if it feels dry, go ahead and water it. This plant will also kind of let you know if it needs water. Its leaves will kind of drop and wilt a little bit, so that can kind of be your sign, oh crap, I need to remember to water this plant. So that's good to know. Otherwise, if you've not watered it for a long time and it is looking pretty droopy, usually these can bounce back okay, so that's good. When it comes to like humidity, would these plants thrive in higher humid, levels in your home? Absolutely. But it's not really needed. Like they can still do okay in lower humid settings. So I wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to create more of a humid environment for this plant. Fertilizing, you're just going to be actively fertilizing in the spring and summer months when it's growing, and just like a standard houseplant fertilizer, like every 2 weeks to once a month. They just really don't need a whole lot. The nice thing about these vines is they are very, very easy to propagate. So you're going to propagate it based on the stem cuttings. So you can take kind of either tip cuttings or medial stem cuttings too. So when you take a cutting and you snip it off this plant, just make sure you're cutting below what we call a node. And the node is kind of the growing point on this plant. It's where those leaves are coming out of. It's where you might actually get some aerial roots that are trying to anchor itself to something. And so when you cut below the node, make sure that at least one or even two, depending on how long you want your cutting to be, at least one of those nodes is actually in the soil, under the soil, because that's where it's going to take root and set root. So just something to know there. And you can also easily water propagate these guys as well. Now, awesome thing about pothos, there are so many different varieties out there. Of course, this is a standard golden pothos. We have a neon pothos that has kind of more that pretty bright lime green coloration. We have one called Marble Queen that has that white variegation to it. So, and there's even more varieties that are kind of coming out on the marketplace, some with even different leaf shapes too. So, they're really, again, a very easy, tried and true plant, one that I would recommend for beginners for sure. So really, other than that, when it comes to like common problems I see with pothos, it is going to drop some leaves. If you have it in like more lower light conditions, or maybe it's not getting like direct light right at the top of the pot, it may start to kind of like, honestly, the foliage might become a little bit more sparse at the pot and at the top of the container, and then it's just kind of vining out. And that's okay. I mean, just kind of be mindful of that. You can prevent that by giving it more top down light. Or you can even just kind of take cuttings off the vine and then put the cuttings back in the container to try to give it a fuller look too. So those are definitely some options there. When it comes to diseases, could this get like some like spot diseases like fungal, bacterial leaf spots? Absolutely. Just kind of watch it and be mindful of it. Just remove leaves that you kind of see those issues on. Avoid splashing water all over the leaves, because some of those pathogens can travel through those water droplets, that sort of thing. When it comes to pest issues, so this can get several pests, unfortunately. Like you can get spider mites where you could get some webbing on these leaves. More commonly, I see mealybugs on these, and mealybugs are kind of those, unfortunately, little like fluffy white cottony bugs, and they can just kind of populate very, very easily. So you just kind of want to monitor that and treat it as needed, just because it could get out of hand if it's not monitored regularly. And sometimes that can be a problem more to, like if you had the plant outdoors for the summer months and then you bring it indoors during the winter months, is just make sure you're scouting and even quarantining plants as they come inside. So really, truly, that'll about do it for the pothos vine. you know, hopefully you learned a little bit more about it. And again, like I said, this is a really great beginner-friendly plant to have. All right, well, that'll about do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.